Today, I'm going to share with you what I believe is the biggest form of enslavement on this planet, and that is the programming and indoctrination of our minds to cause us to see ourselves and form belief systems about ourselves and our world that are so much smaller than we actually are. And I'd like to share with you my story of coming to an awareness of this knowledge. I was raised in the same world that all of us were. I am now 36, so when I was a child, I was growing up in the late 80s, early 90s. People worked a 9 to 5, what was often referred to as the daily grind. Get up, go to work, come home, watch TV, go to bed, do it all over again, and be 100% completely miserable the entire time, hate your job, hate your life, and just accept that this is the way it has to be. Everybody was broke, miserable, weak and sick in their bodies, and this is just the way it was. And there was just a very strong sense of life is hard, life is a struggle. Everybody hates their job, everybody hates their life. You just got to get through it and do the best you can. These are the mindsets that were programmed into us. I am just a part of this system. I have to live my life doing things I hate, being miserable, doing what they tell us we have to do. I know as I grew into adulthood, there's so much pressure. I had to get a job and contribute to society. When I decided to stay home with my children, I received so much judgment because we struggled financially, because we couldn't afford the nice things. Now, this was later on. Backtracking a little bit, when I was a teenager, I joined the charismatic church, and I was very drawn to the charismatic church at that point in my life because it opened my mind. It began the process of opening my mind. I was exposed to word of faith teachings, and at the time I was very depressed. I had been depressed for many years and was desperately seeking relief. Well, this charismatic church that I joined had healing rooms opened. I went to visit the healing rooms one day and I received a miraculous healing of my depression. And from that point on, I was sold on all the word of faith teachings. I went on to experience several more miraculous physical healings in my body. I can tell you exactly what caused those healings to happen. I reached a point where I would have a certain mindset. And the best way that I can describe it is a combination of creativeness and surrender. Creating in your awareness, in your personal reality, the feeling and belief as if you have already received the healing. So I suffered from IBS for a while and I had severe abdominal pain. And it took me a while to get to the point, and I still remember the exact moment I reached the point where I had what they call faith for healing, and it allowed the miracle to occur. I reached a point where I believed beyond the shadow of a doubt, not that I'm going to get healed or that it's possible for me to be healed. I believe I am healed now. I am already healed. You completely lose the sense of needing to be healed, of wanting to be healed, because you, in your reality, in your mind, in your state of being, you are already healed. You don't need anything. And as soon as you reach that place where you create that feeling and that belief, so you're creating it and then you're surrendering it, you're letting it go because you don't need it in your mind, in your being, you already have it. That's when the healing occurs. And this happened to me multiple times within the Christian religion, within the word of faith movement. Fast forward a few years, I am exposed to the knowledge, to the information that these types of supernatural healings and miracles occur across religious barriers. To make the assumption that I and those who agree with me are the only ones who are experiencing the true power of God, and to make a blanket judgment of everybody else, not knowing them, not knowing their experience, not having walked in their shoes, not knowing any of the details of their situation, and to say all of that is demonic, is not only ignorant, speaking of myself, ignorant and arrogant. My husband and I had been through many financial challenges, We had lost two homes. We had had our car repossessed. We had both lost our jobs. I had been pregnant without insurance twice. And I discovered Joe Dispenza on my YouTube playlist, and I was ready to hear what he had to say. And he was saying all the same things that my Word of Faith pastors, my Christian, charismatic, Holy Spirit filled pastors would say. And he was describing the exact experience that I went through when I received my physical healings. Joe Dispenza will talk, if anybody's familiar with him, he talks about how it's the thought and the emotion. The thought sends out the signal and the emotion brings it back to you. So it's that combination, the electromagnetic combination is how he describes it, that it doesn't create the reality that you're wanting or create the healing that you're wanting. It brings you into the reality where that's already true. And I decided to take his advice. He suggests that you get up and do 2 hours of meditation in the morning if you have time, but whatever you have time for. And what you're supposed to do is listen to some music that's inspiring to you, close your eyes, and create the reality in your mind that you want to create. And this can be anything. Who you want to be as a person. Say you want to be a loving, generous, honest, kind, strong, brave person. Then you begin picturing in vivid detail, walking yourself through scenarios, creating, what does this life look like? What do I look like? What do I act like? How do I feel? How do I think? What do I do? You make that feeling so strong that you feel like you already are that person. And you get up and go about your day carrying that feeling with you. And like I said, it could be for anything. It could be for physical health. It could be for finances. It could be for a change in career, or anything that you want to create. So I decided I'm going to start doing this. As I began doing this process, I saw instant changes in my life. It actually led me into a full-blown spiritual awakening that had me blissed out for several years before I started to come down. But the primary things that I was imagining and creating about myself is I am loved and accepted, I am full of joy, and I am at peace. I wanted love, joy, and peace in my life. And not only did this begin to happen, but all of my life completely changed. Like I said, I began to feel like I was living in paradise. Everything in my life opened up to me. Opportunities started opening up. That's it. During that place in my life is when I started my YouTube channel and I became very successful. My husband and I got out of low-income housing and got into a house. My relationships completely transformed and I had this close-knit community of people around me that supported me. I was living in heaven on earth, the same exact thing that I did when I received my supernatural healings. I was creating from a surrendered place of, this is already true. This is already who I am. Imagine it like it is now. I don't need anything. I don't want anything. It's when you let go of that need and that want and accept it as if it already is, that you bring it into reality. And so at that point, I fully accepted that the ability to create with our state of being, our mind, our perception, how we perceive the world, and our state of being is not limited to one religion. And it is not God reaching down and choosing to heal someone because they had enough faith or something like that. It is an ability that is innate in all of us, but it's the word ability isn't even the best word. It is who we are. We are spirit. And this means we are magnificent, light-filled beings that are creative by nature. We are part of the great light. We are part of the great I am. And the great I am is expressing God's self in this entire creation. We are all part of that expression, and we are all part of that I amness that is expressing God. And so that's what we are, what spirit is by nature. It is a state of being. It is a creative force, a creative essence. And so just by being who you are, just by sitting in a room, even if there is nothing on your mind and you're staring blankly out the window, you are creating. You are always creating what your state of being is. I had another revelation a couple of years later. So as I said, my husband and I struggled immensely with finances, and I had a serious poverty mindset. So did my husband. And I know for me, it was because of the idea, and I still do believe this to some extent because I'm really big into near-death experiences, and a lot of times the message of near-death experiences is that material things are not what matters, and that they can actually get in the way of the development of the spirit. So this idea that that if you have a lot of money or you have a lot of stuff, it's going to dampen your spiritual connection. That was always something I was really afraid of. Yes, if you are wanting and needing money to be happy, that will dampen your spiritual connection. What you want to do is come to an understanding that you don't need anything and you don't want anything. Let all those attachments go and tune into who you really are. I came to a point where I recognized I am abundance itself. I am, as we stated, a powerful, magnificent, creative, spiritual being. Everything that I need is within me, because within me is the light of God, the light of source. That's what I am. Everything that is out here is an illusion. I don't need any of that. I can't actually ever get any of that. I am already enough. And so when I let go of the need or the desire to have more money, more stuff, I need this, I need that, so we can stop struggling financially. And I realized all I have to do to have my needs provided for is to open up that channel. Recognize abundance is within here. It all comes from within here. And if you believe it's going to come from a job, then that's where it's going to come from. But if you believe that it could come from absolutely anywhere, then you're not limited to a 9-to-5 job. I no longer try to make money. I don't ever worry about money. What I focus on is creating within myself abundance, creating within myself satisfaction, creating within myself heaven. And then I get to watch it manifest all around me. Over the last few years, as I've watched this process unfold in my own life, I have come to a firm conviction that I am no longer willing to participate in the system anymore. I'm done with the brainwashing. I'm done with the guilt and the judgment. I'm done with the negative mindsets, the complaining, the worrying. I am simply creating the life that I want to live. For me, what does that look like? What is the life that I want to live? There are 3 things that are really important to me. The first one is living a life of purpose. So there are things that I am so passionate about, and I want to do something about those things. I want to make a difference in the world. And that's what I get to do with my YouTube channel and with my work. Community. I want a life surrounded by family and friends, people coming and going. I want my home to feel welcoming and a place where people are loved. And 3, nature. I have to be close to nature to be in the best physical health that I can be. I like to get out and walk barefoot and watch the sunrise and sunset and go swim in rivers and lakes in the summer. And you may notice it has nothing to do with money and stuff and possessions, because those things aren't important to me. What I'm here to say to you today, thank you for listening to my story, my personal journey of awakening to my own being, my own power, my own creative ability, is I want to say that every single one of us living on this planet is a powerful, creative being. We have all been programmed to some extent by our culture. There's a lot of talk about slavery in the spiritual communities today, and I do believe that's happening. I do not know how much of it is intentional, but it is happening just by nature of living in this world, that we are enslaved by our thought systems, by our belief systems, which lead us to have certain emotions, which create a state of being. And if you are living in a state of being where you feel limited and lacking and miserable and powerless, that is how our culture has conditioned us to feel. That is not who you are. Breaking out of that is as simple as changing the way you think, changing the way you perceive, changing what you believe about yourself. And there's so many tools that are available to help us now to sort of undo some of that programming, but it really can be as simple as sitting down for 30 minutes in the morning, putting in some music in your earbuds that inspires you, and imagining yourself limitless, powerful, abundant, happy, peaceful. And I have a message for the world system that we're living in. We are awakening. We are not going to put up with this any longer. We are not going to put up with being enslaved into certain systems, certain ways of thinking, certain ways of believing. Humanity is capable of awakening and living in peace and harmony on this earth. And that's what's coming. And we're coming for you, but not in the violent sense. We are simply taking back our power. We are simply awakening to the fact that creating a beautiful paradise on earth is as simple as believing it is possible and imagining it into existence. Thank you for watching.